Not looking over here, are you fellas? Because then somebody might think that it's a buzz for uploading Reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. You wouldn't be like turning to make a direct overhead, would you? Yeah, it looks like you are. So everybody knows that this is for uploading Reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube.
Those people in there that you think you're protecting, they are killing the children. They have been doing it for hundreds of years.
This guy has at least some knowledge of what's happening. And as over Elon must see.
I watched his body change. His legs got longer by like several inches, and I could hear like creaking. I guess bone or something. His skeleton was changing. He got way taller, like several inches taller. His eyes changed. His whole personality changed. His arms, and he was already kind of like thin, so he got like a lot skinnier because he was like stretched out more.
And I remember that I had been there as a child, so it was really creepy because I had been the hunted. And then I was there among the people who were hunting, and they're all talking. And I remember there was this is what I remember, like, there was like a boy who had been roasted like a pig, and he was on the table with like the apple in his mouth and everything.
Oh gosh.
Like, people were eating him, and I remember Elon Musk was eating like child and like talking to his mom. Like a casual conversation, and they're like, and that's what these elite people do behind closed doors. They really do. Because think about it, like they have so much money that they're more powerful than God, basically.
Larry Silverstein is a great guy. He's a good guy. He's a friend of mine, but he didn't want to.
We learned that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Building 7, a 42-story glass and steel structure located across the street from the World Trade Center, collapsed. It was not hit by any planes at all. It appeared to have suffered only minor damage, but nevertheless it simply fell down in what is clearly and classically a controlled demolition. But you ain't heard nothing yet. Larry Silverstein, the leaseholder of the World Trade Center, accidentally told PBS that he had the building demolished.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
In a modeling career to attend a series of parties with other similarly situated minor females held at a New York City residence that was being used by defendant Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's exactly what we know of Epstein. All the information that's come out since that case, we know that's exactly what he was doing. At least 4 of the parties were attended by defendant Trump. By this time in 1994, defendant Trump had known defendant Epstein for over 7 years. Yeah, so much for the nonsense Trump saying that he hardly ever knew him and he cut ties with him before all the pedophilia stuff came out. So Trump was fully in on this. Defendant Trump initiated sexual contact with plaintiff at 4 different parties. On the 4th and final sexual encounter with defendant Trump tied plaintiff to a bed, exposed himself, proceeded to forcibly rape her. During the course of this savage sexual attack, plaintiff loudly pleaded with Trump to stop, but to no effect. Defendant Trump responded to plaintiff's pleas by violently striking plaintiff in the face with his open ham and screaming he would do whatever he wanted. Immediately following this rape, defendant Trump threatened plaintiff that, were she ever to reveal any of the details of the sexual and physical abuse, plaintiff and her family would be physically harmed, if not killed. And that's exactly what Epstein used to do as well. Then what happened was Epstein came in. During the second sexual encounter with defendant Epstein, he forced himself upon the plaintiff, proceeded to rape anally and vaginally despite her loud pleas to stop.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know when you see one, and that's what that was.
Himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
They're lying. Both of them are lying. You can tell by the way they're breaking eye contact. You can tell by their body language and the way they're speaking defensively. All of that aside, I can promise you, as somebody who's done a lot of time in prison, as somebody who has seen the types of cells that they put you in, specifically when you are under watch for that type of self-harm, they're lying. The cameras weren't working. The guards fell asleep. He just randomly had the materials in the cell to be able to pull that off. No, it's a lie. Don't know why they're lying. I don't know if they've been gotten to. I don't know if they're being blackmailed. I don't know if they're being paid. But for whatever reason, I promise you, both of these men are lying to.
So I did a couple of experimental videos talking about the riots here in LA in particular, but also the entire anti-ICE enforcement issue, protests, and I, like all of you, watch a lot of the material on it. This guy, Rick Shirley, kind of did some good on-the-ground interviewing of people, and boy, all I can say is young people need to experience things in their youth. And there's a lot of people that probably like me in a lot of ways in times past. You're not making as much sense as you do when you have a longer perspective on things. But what I found from my talking about this, frankly, is that I didn't trust my own voice on this because I felt like maybe I'm biased in one direction, whereas it's almost like, see, what I thought about it was that what all this could be is it's like a soul trap. It's an issue trap. And furthermore, as we know now, especially with this AI, guys, I've been seeing some AI stuff that if I wasn't really aware as much of the, as certainly now of the AI video images being generated, I might not have guessed that that's what it was, because they look so real. So now, in reality, and you can imagine if this is what they're showing us, you can imagine what they have behind the scenes to pull off their, Satan loves it. He can pull off the great stuff with these deceptive images. So we don't know what we're looking at all, friends. We really don't know. So like a lot of this stuff, like when you see that Latino guy standing on the burning car, that's probably real, but it could be, and other scenes that support it could be totally fake. And we really wouldn't be able to tell. It would be hard to know. So the thing is that I kind of got the feeling, I made videos kind of on both sides of the issue. One a little bit more sympathetic with the plight of the immigrants and the experience that they have when they come here. It's understandable how they're angry. And then I saw some other material and I thought, well, you know, I kind of feel a little bit less sympathetic and more like, you know, we gotta, you know, I mean, you've got to crack down or our country's in trouble and kind of thing. So I kind of had both sides of the issue, but I wanted to kind of stay away from it because what I think is, it looks like to me, it's a issue trap. You know, you jump on one side or the other just to get you polarized and angry and hateful towards people of another opinion. Frankly, now, I'll just go ahead and tell you what my opinion is. I mean, I think you guys probably know if you've been watching me for a while, but in any case, I am not against what Trump's doing with the ICE immigration enforcement and, you know, deporting people, as painful as it might be. I mean, I think that if we don't have law and order, then we're already looking at a society that's breaking down. I mean, just look at the streets. I mean, I see it with my eyes every day here in Los Angeles, and I can tell you, especially with people like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass at the wheel, it's really going downhill fast. And then you have people coming over here, and the very first thing they do is lie and cheat to come in, and don't do it the right way. Why not fill out the paperwork and do it right? And so, and that only lends itself to more lawlessness. On the other hand, I feel for the other hand of the issue of people that come here. They're desperate in their situation of poverty that's probably caused by Satan in their country, in their Latin American countries, by destroying good people and uplifting the evil people, and that's probably being done on purpose to force people to flee here so that they can be slaves to us. And then we treat them like crap. They work hard every day for us, and then what do they get for it? They get a general referendum on their people, basically saying, we're kicking your asses out of here. And I can understand, it's an understandable anger. And yet at the same time, it's hard for someone like myself or regular, long-time American dwellers to accept the screaming and yelling and burning and graffitiing and everything else, but just general expression of anger when, we're trying to have a life here. So it's, I hope that's a balanced way of saying it, but, saying my opinion, because I do want to say that I think that there's a lot of decent, hardworking, honest, likable people of Latin American descent that we want as our neighbors. We want them as our neighbors. We want them as part of our society, and they're nice, cool people. I had 2 Latino friends in my junior high school days. 3 that I can read them off, and one of them. Okay, so one was named Jeff, one was named Antonio, and one was named Oscar. And I think I had them in the 7th grade. These guys were my friends, like in the 6th, 7th grade, something around there. Or no, maybe earlier than that. I can't remember. But anyway. When I lived with my dad in Sherman Oaks, which is right next to Van Nuys, which is a heavily Latino area, and so there's a lot of Latinos that went to the junior high that I went to in Van Nuys Junior High, and and when I look at the issue overall, it's a tough issue. Racism is hard to overcome on any side. Anybody that says otherwise just, is living in a fantasy realm. People that live behind gated communities in nice areas and haven't had to deal with the hate looks on the street in your face don't have, I think, a realistic view of why a lot of people, ordinary working people, are up in arms about immigration issues, other race issues, race conflict type issues. But I think that there is a soul trap being played out of course, Satan's going to take over social media. I can tell you firsthand he has, with the suppression of my channel and many other channels, with zero, and I mean zero doubt that it's like something like, oh, I'm just not as popular as others, or I said something to offend people, and that's what. No, I can tell you for sure that YouTube is suppressing my channel. Everyone knows it. They're suppressing many other channels so that they have way fewer views and subscribers, even subtracting subscribers, actually unsubscribing people, and never giving anyone notifications that your movies come out, so that you have as few views as they want you to have, because they want to minimize your voice, which I feel that is a clear violation of the First Amendment. We should have unbiased free speech. If you don't like someone's opinion, you don't have to watch them. It's very easy. It's even different than free speech of standing out on a street corner here with a big sign saying, I don't like the thing that you love, and you're forced to look at it because you're driving along, and you have to look at it. Whereas on social media, you're free to watch who you want and who you don't, and and if it's done in a fair manner, where it's not, a bias towards something that is, that has to do with someone's political views, then I think that's a fair situation. What we have now is not a fair situation, and it is very arguable that social media is in fact the new public town square of free opinion for Americans, and we are not getting it. We are not getting that. We are getting a very evil, very vile suppression. I can tell you firsthand on my social media that I made my splash on, YouTube, which I still think has the potential to be a great platform. It's the best video platform on earth. Remains to this day. When you want information about stuff, whether it's equipment, whether it's social issues, whatever, the news, I think YouTube is still number one. It's clearly number one, clearly the best. I don't care who says what about Twitter, TikTok, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but unfortunately, all of those platforms and YouTube are not adhering to the Constitution of the United States of America. And the fact is that right now, they have found, power and legal. They're so powerful, they're so rich, that no one can really do anything about it, especially not ordinary people, okay? People that don't have large influence, because I believe, as we find out now is the case, that Satan owns all the money, and he's not going to give it to anyone who's going to truly work against his agenda of corrupting souls, which is his job. It's his job to offer corrupt, dirty crapulence to anyone who wants to do it for the money, and that's his game, that's his role, that's his life, okay? And he's going to do the best he can. And boy, I tell you, it's pretty, the crapulence is pretty ubiquitous. People are falling for it left and right. Even people that are Christians shouting the name of Jesus Christ in the churches, as I keep telling you. So I haven't talked about this as much, but another aspect of the conversations that I had with Azrael is that he was talking about some elements of the new world, or how it will separate from the old world. And I wasn't sure if he was talking about coming up in this period, like sometime basically after the tribulation, or, as I suspect is more likely the case, after the 1,000 years. So after the 1,000 years reign of Christ that we see in Scripture, the last of the 7,000 year plan of God outlined in prophecy of Scripture. And what he said was that the earth would actually separate into two earths. So there would be one earth, and then there would be this other earth, but it would be, and the new earth would have a similar layout and everything. The land and the water and everything would be largely the same. This is what the angel Azrael told me. Pretty gnarly dude. This angel. He's like a giant 50-foot blonde man, 50-foot tall blonde man, and apparently with long blonde hair, and he likes to walk around naked with this big schlong hanging out. Is what he told me. I'm not joking. That's what he said. He didn't use the word schlong, but you get what I'm saying. They just walk around naked. They're not ashamed, I guess. Shame only comes with, I don't know, something else that gets added to you, or maybe it's, I don't know. Anyway, that's what he said. And like I said, if you talk with this being and you heard him talk, you'd see it's the real thing. Ain't nobody giving me no BS or some demon or something. But however it manifests, I think the angel has he had been here, he said, for all 7 generations before, and this being the 8th, according to him, meaning that you're talking about someone who has a much broader perspective on everything, even if there were something of this new age that he was not aware of. For instance, that cell phones and technology as much. But I'm sure he'd catch on pretty quick. For instance, he learned English instantly, and I don't think that language was available at the time that he had been imprisoned by my Anna. And it's interesting. Be interesting to find out what the whole story was, because I still don't know if Anna had a designation as an angel that was known or not. For instance, Azrael is known, but I don't know, like if she had an actual name of an angel that we know about. But there could be a lot of other angels and other types of beings that God created that that are not known to man as much, or not known at all. But whatever she was a deep, older soul, I would say, someone who's been around, someone like myself, who's been around in ages past. And like I said, she said that she and I fought the Satan in his great red dragon form, and but our genders were reversed. So she was male and I was female, and that we defeated him. But then she said she also saw the actual birth of Jesus Christ, not in the world with Mary, but in the actual. And she also said that she saw the creation of the Holy Ghost, the Spirit, which she said that it started with the Father as a thought to create a creator of the universe. And this is backed up. We learn from Isaiah 66, very important, that the hand of God is the creator of heaven and earth. And we now see that things that we may have thought developed over a long period of time, like different cultures and languages, different races, actually may have been pretty much instantly created, relatively instantly created. They didn't develop naturally because some people broke off from one civilization and they were kind of similar, like for instance the Thai people or the Japanese people may have, you kind of think that maybe they broke off from the Chinese a long time ago. There may be some element of that, but I think that the whole language and culture of a people tends to be created by the Lord nearly instantaneously, I would say. Think of how fortunate you are if you understand that with all the issues raging one side or the other and all that you're someone who knows that what is the most important thing to keep your eye on is how are you going to look before the judgment of the Lord. The Lord whose eyes are in every place, beholding the good and the evil. Every day, an ever-present God with us, seeing, doing things in our lives, doing things that we can't comprehend, so complex in every single person's life. We have our own personal God, you might say, that does all these various things in our lives so that we have these various experiences, both good and evil. And I'm sure that afterwards it will be seen as something to be really grateful for, that you were put through the tribulation that you were put through, because this is how our souls become worthy and deep and able to be mature in the face of many people who are not. And so we see the difference. We see the difference between those that have learned something and those who haven't. And I was thinking that the world breaks down into two main purposes. The first being to, as I was just saying, give the souls an experience of learning and maturing. But the second is to filter out those that will learn something and those that won't. Something I read early on in my explorations was something about there are many souls that have come through all this time, and yet they've learned nothing. So it means that your soul goes through these various experiences, and whether it learns something or not is, I guess, depending on the creation. Even though I think some people were created specifically, and some people were created randomly. I don't know. It's just you can only guess at what the actual process is. But the bottom line to it is some will learn and some will not. And I think that what Azrael was saying was that the ones that won't, they will go off into that. There's a world that it's like this world, except I think it becomes darker, is what he said. A darker, more bleak reality. But the other Earth, like it splits off into two dimensions. The other Earth, that still has the same basic formatting, but it's a brighter, nicer reality. And of course, you want the good one. You really want the good one. And therefore, right now, when it's very difficult, you have to show. And part of that showing of righteousness is watching for what the Lord has, being obedient to Him every day, because what you want to have as a mindset every day is, how can I please God? Because you see, He makes that very clear in His Word. They chose that in which I delighted not. And those are losers. See, so you want to be a winner and choose that which is a delight for the Lord. So choose something that you think that Jesus, because we know a lot about Him, what would He want? But using that as an example, I think one of the issues that's like the main issue is honesty. Even if it means that you are not doing something like really looking for how to please the Lord. Speaking frankly, which I find is not necessarily always to your benefit, maybe to your detriment actually, but speaking frankly about the prayer thing again, not only was there that I come to the idea or the sense that there might not be much to say right now, but also that my own words were insincere. I was insincere, and that's why I don't. I started to feel that my prayer was not something that was looked for by the Lord as much. I'm not saying entirely, but as much, just not as much. It keeps coming back to Isaiah 66. He who does this religious thing is false. He who does that religious thing is false. In other words, religion in the end time, by and large, I'm not going to say entirely, of course, but I think the fact is that by and large, it's false wickedness of people who have chosen their own ways and not really what is pleasing to God. And what is truly pleasing to God is going to be hid from those who can't get themselves to be righteous overall, to really look for the right thing to do. But I think you have to be chosen for it as well. It's not like you're going to figure it out on your own, but you're responsible for yourself every day. So you know what's right and wrong in your heart for the most part. I mean, you can't make mistakes, of course, genuine mistakes, but in reality, we know what's right, we know what's wrong, and I know because I purposely, well, not so much consciously, but as much as can be totally responsible for my actions, chosen the wrong thing, whereas there was the right thing that was very clear to do, and so the knowledge was pretty clear, but I didn't do it. I chose wrong. Even though I knew about hell, even though I knew about Jesus Christ, and I knew that God watches everything, and yet I somehow convinced myself to choose wrong. So and it could happen to me. I think it could happen to anybody. So don't be too dismayed by it. A lot of this is acclimating to what we've got here. Even kind of just like figuring everything out. Let's see. This device may not be ridden on the ocean-front walk and also subject to other legal restrictions. But I'll bet it's fun. In terms of honesty and pleasing God, you might find that the best you can do is to try to not displease Him in particular. And you know what things those are. Sins, right? Everything from little sins to big sins. I think that's what Jesus meant in Revelation when He said, I were it that you were cold or hot. I think He would rather have somebody who is not necessarily like doing all this stuff to try to please Him, but at least honest in their kind of being cold unto Him, because He prefers somebody who is honest and cold rather than dishonest and lukewarm, or even hot in their dishonesty. Because maybe now we weren't capable of giving all that we need to give to God. We can't give Him what He needs.